there, ladies, gentlemen and unicorns, welcome to another stream. I already see some people in the chat here. Thank you so much for being the first on this days, nights, evenings, wherever you are, mornings stream on, just another one of my pet projects. Marshmallow Thief says, happy Sunday to you as well. So, yes, what's it going to be today? Well, this week I've been busy, well, mostly with work, but also I think I talked about this last time. I'm currently also in the process of producing a video on the infamous racetrack mission in the first Mafia game. And for that, already the script is finished because it's not really that long, but I want to give a little bit of perspective at the time or about the time 2002 when Mafia 1 was released and just show a little bit of background, what we were listening back then, what movies were there. And I thought for this it would be nice to have some kind of 2002's living room with a small screen TV there. And the camera would pan in as there would be different, just a montage of different clips that would be playing from the 2002s. Let me just bring quickly up my script there. Essentially, the video would start with, it is late August 2002. We're listening to Avril Lavigne. We're watching 1 Hour Photo and Super Mario Sunshine came out the other day and so on. And for this I needed to have a background. And I thought, it would be just a bit boring to just have, just some clips from TV shows there or anything. So you probably know where this is going with me. I overscoped a little, and let me bring up here Maya. So what I thought is it would be nice to have some 2002's, like I said, living room there. And at first I thought bring up my old Sony Trinitron TV and just shoot it here in my living room. But then I realized, most of my 2002 stuff is still hundreds of kilometers away at my parents or in some kind of box buried deep beneath decades of stuff that I just piled onto, and I wouldn't be able to find all the things that I would need. Then I would of course have to clean them and set them up nicely into the lighting, and if there's something wrong then I would have to do it all over again. So what do you do if the actual reality is too limiting? You recreate it with CGI, and this is where we are here. So let me just quickly show you. So I have here a nice living room set, and essentially the thing is here you would see it playing there on the TV screen, and slowly the camera would creep up into the TV screen while I'm talking about 2000s stuff. So the thing with 2000s stuff is, of course, nothing has to be of a later date than what's in the 2000s. So our Sorceress is here. Good evening. Good evening, says Sorceress, and hello, and thank you, by the way. Sorceress also more or less reminded me that Warcraft 3 was a thing back then, and actually I probably will need some clips of Warcraft 3 in the upcoming video, but I will get to this in a bit later in this video. But I think I will play Warcraft 3 now, so thank you, Sorceress, for the suggestion, because I think I've only played Warcraft 1 and I didn't even own it back then. Anyway, so yes, this is the wonderful living room CGI set that I did over the course of this week whenever I had a couple of hours to spare, and in the end I worked on this, I think more than 20 hours already. But this looks a bit drab. Let's switch over to the shaded version. Not to worry, this is just the HDR background. As soon as the textures are loaded in, look at this. There it looks a little bit nicer. So Sorceress says, look forward to the Warcraft 3 streams. I think there will be one probably next week. Like I said, I need to record footage anyway, and then why not show myself my complete ignorance in never having played this game, and then just dive right in and stream and have people yell at me here on Twitch, because like I said, I've never played it before. I've known of those of this one very remarkable mission where it was in the story that you'll be playing as this guy, this prince who has to slaughter, or who wants to slaughter his townspeople for one reason or the other. So I think I'm already spoiled in terms of story development. But back then it was a very remarkable mission, as far as I understand it, in terms of how much of a story you could actually tell with the mechanics within an RTS. Anyway, so yes, this is my wonderful living room set, and in the background here, this is just an HDR image that I use for lighting. And as you can see here, it's quite a lot of 2000s nostalgia for me. So and you probably wonder how this looks lighted. Let's switch over to the lighted view then, if my computer is able to do this. Come on, you can do this. I hope that it's still streaming, by the way. Yes, here we are. Wonderful. So this is already a bit choppy, as I can see here now, probably because I'm encoding this live. But yeah, OBS looks like it's still holding up. So yeah, this is the set, but this won't be the final rendering, of course, because this is still real-time 3D. And when I'm going all in, then I'm going all in. And let me show you here, I'm already here on TurboSquid, on how it looks here rendered in its full glory. So yes, my hope is that there is also some nostalgia with my viewers when they see this picture here. So I tried to cram everything in that was, at least for myself, a part of my teens. For one thing, here we have the Star Trek First Contact poster, which I had, and I really enjoyed this movie. Then here a couple of DVDs that I watched at the time, because once I got myself the wonderful PS2, I suddenly had a DVD player now and had to catch up with all the cool stuff that you could watch on TV. And of course, there were some great games on the PS2. I didn't have all of them that are displayed here, but I think one or the other people will still remember, and I hope cherish, and will just think, oh, that's nice that this is here, hopefully to get them into the spirit of the early 2000s. So one thing I want to get right out is I didn't model a lot of what you see here. This is why I have here my TurboSquid page open. If you don't know, TurboSquid is where you can buy, as it says here, 3D models for professionals. And you can also get some models for free. Depends. It's a marketplace essentially. So if some authors just think, they put up something for free, then it's very nice of them. But most of the free stuff is just not really worth it, even if it's free. But for others, if you want, for example, a more detailed model of something, of course you have to purchase it. And let's get back to Maya. This wonderful TV I didn't model, but I did the shading here, because my renderer of choice, well, more or less of it's not so much of a choice if it's the only renderer that's supplied with the software in terms of Maya. For years that has been Mental Ray, but then Mental Technologies, I think, was the developer. They were bought by NVIDIA, and NVIDIA is more interested in real-time stuff, and Mental Ray was, hence to the name, a ray tracing engine, more or less. And I spent decades trying to master, well, it was 1 decade or so, trying to really master all the very obscure settings of Mental Ray. And then it was gone because NVIDIA more or less shut it down. With the newer Maya versions, you didn't have Mental Ray anymore. You could purchase it from NVIDIA. And then NVIDIA just said, we don't have any plans of pursuing Mental Ray any further. But in Maya 3D now, there is the beautiful Arnold Renderer, which is from Sony Imageworks. I think the first, at least I know it from the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, which I think came also out around 2002. So this should make the pile here of one of those here. But anyway, this was the Arnold renderer, and the cool thing about Arnold is that it just feels more open and easier to tweak and easier to play with and to get good results than Mental Ray. And this is why I had to do the shading pretty much again, because This is another thing with 3D models. When you purchase them or when you don't do them yourselves, most of the times they are done in a different modeling package. There are a lot of models that were modeled with Rhino, for example. If it's more sculpting stuff, then of course there are the usual Mudbox models. A lot of the models that I found are Sketchfab models or 3D Studio Max models. Some are even AutoCAD models if it's very technical. So yeah, it turns out in the end, none of the things that I bought were compatible with Maya. I see something here in the chat. Sorcerer says you'd make a good Neo Pixel Prophecy. Fun fact: when the Matrix came out, I was I did my hair in this, you know, wet and styled Keanu Reeves style back then, because yeah, I looked roughly the same, you know, pasty skin and dark hair. So you can see. If you haven't noticed, that I'm not actually blondish, but this is all fake. If you watch very closely, you can see a little bit of roots there that are dark. This is my natural hair color, so maybe you can spot it a little bit if you pay very close attention. Yeah, this is my Corona hair, so still haven't gotten to the hairdressers. Anyway, yeah, talking about models. For example, the other thing that I learned the hard way with models is that there are many approaches to doing modeling and also UV mapping and texturing, as there are people or artists around. And even with those models that I paid for example, the models that I purchased from the site were, of course, this big Sony Trinitron TV here and the PS2, which came here with even those wonderful PS2 memory cards there, and of course the DualShock 2 controller. So this was all part of the PlayStation model here. The downside, like I said, of when you purchase models is you never know what you get or how it is set up or how easy it is to change things. And I realized there are a number of things that when I'm purchasing models that just drive me mad and insane and don't want me to give you a good rating. So I think this is one side learning is of this stream here is, if you want to sell your 3D models, what not to do, because yeah, this is I just need a platform essentially to rant about all my woes that I had with those two models, because the promise is you just buy them, import them, and everything works. This is how it should be. In the end, it took me many hours to do cleanups, to reconnect textures, and there, like I said, there are a lot of different philosophies of how to doing textures and models. For example, how I like to do things is that I model everything, and everything, even if it's just a clear surface or anything, has UV coordinates. The point for me is that I try to keep the number of different texture maps that you need for a model down to the barest minimum, while also giving the option to texture something. And that you don't have to use shaders, because your texture coordinates are just all over the place, and as soon as you try to wrap an image on, or even if it's just a noise texture or anything like this, everything breaks because it is not properly UV mapped. And this, I think, is number one of the biggest gripes that I have. The other thing is that that you use many different textures or materials in one combined model. For example, here with this PlayStation model here, this is just one model, but it uses different textures, different kinds of textures. You can barely see it here. That, for example, here with the two, there is this one here is a little bit. There's a spot that's a little bit darker than everything, and the reason for this is that. On one hand, it's pretty cleverly textured. On the other hand, is that it's just all over the place. The thing is that it's a patchwork of, for example, this magic gate here is an individual texture there, but also the side here where it with the PS2 logo. Oh my God! Now I'm inside the screen with the PS2 logo. Is a texture in itself, and so on. And the problem was that it took me, I think it's the PlayStation there was like 50 shading networks, 50 materials, and none of the textures worked. So I had to manually just try out where the textures would be and whether they would fit. And the biggest gripes that I had is if you use like 50 different shading networks and all are pretty much based on the same black thing. The person who made this model used a value of 000 for black, which is, I mean, it makes sense that 0 is black, but especially with rendering, you don't want zeros. Avoid complete black, avoid complete white. The reason is because there is no definition in there whatsoever, and in reality this is almost never the case unless you're shooting in utter darkness. But especially for something like plastic here that has well, this one here is more reflective, but the problem is if something is just zeros and you have a shadow over it, you can't brighten up anything in post because there is nothing there. And if you have at least like 1% brightness for the texture, that would this makes things much easier in compositing. My point is there, I needed to change this utter blackness to a very dark gray. And now I had to do it in 50 places because everything was using this one value, but it was not a shared shading network or anything. So it was just copy of copy of copy. It's like in game developers terms, it's like somebody didn't use a function for anything, but just copy pasted the code over it and just made minor adjustments to the textures. But essentially, I had to go in and it's pretty hard to tweak something because you pull the slider in one direction, then render it, wait for it to render, think, doesn't look right, pull it in the other direction. But I could only do this with the biggest surface there because all the others were still in their original values. So it really wasn't a lot of fun. By the way, you can see here same thing happening here with the screen because it is not completely well textured. You can see there are different materials here for the back side and the front side. I only took a lot of pains to get the front side correct because, like I said, it's only going to be this pan upwards there, and you probably won't see this background here. By the way, I can see here probably I'm using maybe a wrong texture there. At least it appears like this because channel and power on, and so this is actually part of this front panel here. So there is something fishy going on with this model, but at least since I know that I'm only using it here from the front, it's not that much of a problem. The other thing is, I think this is also something that we've noticed, is that when you do stuff for yourself, you don't really need to give something labels or names. You're pretty happy if you know you're going to combine a mesh, not combine a mesh. I have to watch my plosives there. It's okay if you have cube 3512 and cube 3514 because you deleted 3513, of course. And because in the end you just combine it together and you always know that it is going to be this one thing. Problem is, same thing goes for shading networks, and especially in Maya you have multiple places where it's helpful if you have named something. And this is another big problem or big gripe that I have with purchased 3D models. Many of them have named components, but most of them really don't. It's like polygon surface 812, polygon surface conversion 12, poly cube or poly cylinder, and so on and so forth. Same thing applies to materials. You get just standard material copy 4, and in the end I have to go in and give everything a proper names, because if an error comes up, of course I need to know where the error is cropping up, which thing is making troubles. And lastly is also an interesting thing that I've noticed. Let me just show you here, demonstrate it. If you search for something here, let's search for, let's go for TV screen. Let's try TV screen here. And I mean, those are pretty okay in terms of, I'm looking for a certain thing that shows up and demonstrates an issue, and this is thankfully not the issue here. Let's Google for plants. Maybe there's something like this. Maybe this, for example, here. Let's have a look at this object there. So this is how you present your stuff there on TurboSquid. You just give an overview of what everything is in there and all the individual plants and so on. And but the biggest problem that I've realized is with many of those things there, you know what, maybe I can find those indoor plants. Let's have a look at those indoor plants, because those are the one that I bought. So they look very nice here. It's more or less, my god, my internet is horribly slow today. Yeah, it's more or less a demonstration. You can see here it's just a wall behind there, and it's very flat lighting and so on. So this is good because I, as a customer, know how those things are going to look like. The problem here is that once I import the model, the scene is like this. It got this floor and the background wall, and there's a light inside there and the camera. So to me, as a customer, it doesn't look like it's a cleaned up scene. I can't just import one plant, the one that I need. But of course, I have to clean up the scene and delete the camera and the lights, because when you're using an asset, you don't want to use the scene in the asset. And the biggest offender that I had in those terms was the $10 that I spent for the PlayStation. You can see here, this is how it's being presented, which is very nice. This is why I bought it. The downside is when you open the scene, when you import it, it looks like this, exactly like this, where it's angled, and the controller is also there angled, and even the memory card lies at an angle. And of course, when you want to import something, you don't want it to be somewhere rotated in space. You want it to be on the origin point with no weird transformation and so on. And again, also here with the cables, I mean, it looks very nice if you have the cables here doing this little twist and so on, but I can't change those when I import them. And so it's more or less a matter of presentation, and not so much as a matter of how easily it is for me to work with it. Like I said, it looks very cool. It looks very cool, but again, it's an overhead that you have to account for. Space Monkey says, who needs pivot points? Exactly. This is another thing, usually in terms of import, when something was done maybe in Max and you import it in, it was just an OBJ export. OBJ, by the way, the text file equivalent of 3D, because it's also just in ASCII there, all the points and vertices and material information. So when you import this, the axes are flipped because for some reason Studio Max uses the Z axis for up, because it comes from architecture, I think, and Maya, which comes from Cinema, uses the Z axis, is the one that goes actually is the y-axis. So Z and y-axes are flipped. So when you import a Max model or an OBJ from Max, it's at 90 degrees flipped. Not that big of a problem. But the other problem with Max models, damn it, I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, oh yes, I recall, is that all the individual components, maybe all the faces are individual objects. So you have thousands of objects in there that you need to combine, and of course, yeah, the pivot points are all over the place. There is no grouping, nothing going on. I mean, like I said, with OBJ imports, well, it's due to the format, there's not a lot you can do. But with FBX, which is let's say the PDF equivalent in 3D terms, well, it's a little bit more easier to work with. But again, you don't see groups or anything, and yeah, like I said, it's really problematic. And the final thing is, when you look at the UV coordinates, again, how easy it is to change something here. At least with this screen here, it looks mostly cool. I mean, look, if you look at those UV maps here for the individual components, yeah, for example, this push thing here, this is just on the outside. On the downside here, there is this push thingy here. I had to scale this down to fit also into UV map, but it's just minor stuff. Now let's have a look at see what happens when I select here the PS2. Yes, so if you want to do any kind of changes or put a decal on or just anything, this impossible to work with. If I wanted to do things there myself, I more or less would have to completely redo this or do the mapping again. I mean, look at this. This is a mess. You can't work with this. So the downside of this is, of course, you can apply shaders to it, but nothing that needs texture coordinates. So if you want to have, even if it's just a procedural texture, without texture coordinates, without clean texture coordinates, you can't really map it onto the surface, and this is a big problem. Same thing here. I mean, this for this little memory card, I mean, it's cool. For one thing, that you have here the memory card Sony Entertainment, which is going to be used as a bump map on the backside, but again, this doesn't look good. And then with this little cactus here, this is just this looks much better because this is made via photogrammetry, I assume. So, I mean, at least there's nothing wasted. Yeah, and the things that I modeled on this thing here is, of course, those shelf boards. So my shelf boards have UV coordinates, and this PlayStation 1 thing here. It doesn't look like much here because of all the translucency and so on. By the way, this is the box below those DVD boxes, which were also used there for PlayStation 2 games. Those I also edited so that I could use here just one texture and have all the spines here for those that you wouldn't see the top. The problem is, of course, I've learned that when I just did a little test of pulling the camera in, of course you could see here the top of the topmost games there. And of course it's clearly obvious that this is not the correct title, so I will have to redo those as well. But at least those were quite well mapped. So, by the way, here the Blade Runner thing, if you can see here, it looks vaguely like Harrison Ford, and this I also thought this might be used when I'm having it here so slanted looking at it, and this whole image here of Harrison Ford is in those couple of pixels there because just compressed it down, literally compressed it. So yeah, those are my gripes there I have with purchased items. So just one thing that I'm quite happy with how it turned out is where do I have it? The PlayStation 1 box, because I needed as well a PlayStation 1 box there, and interestingly, there is nothing to be found on the web, so apparently no one, at least to my knowledge, has made this PlayStation 1 case here. So you can see here my implementation is, well, it's a mixed bag. For one thing here, the top cover, I mean, I had here my good old Silent Hill here as a reference. This top cover thing here, I spent hours to get this one here right, and I'm very happy with it because it has, let's see, how many triangles. So the selection has, 3,588 triangles just for this top cover. And then I realized that I was running low on time there, and let's hide this top cover here and this plastic inlay here where it should hold the CD and so on. Just made sure that it looks okay from the outside, and same thing is here for the inlay, and I did a little bit more here with the outer shell. But my point is because that I knew where I was using it, that it would never lie around open, that I wouldn't have to go in with all the details there. And the other thing is I made sure that it's easy to texture. Again, let's bring up the UV editor. So if you ever should need to have an image there or anything, at least it is mapped so you can easily do it. And here even the top cover, because I mean, for one thing, of course, it's just clear, it's see-through, it's transparent, you probably don't need to map it. But then again, maybe you want to have some kind of smudges in the specularity or some kind of dirt or grime there, and this is why I made sure that even the back side and the front side of this thing are properly mapped here. Let me just switch over to the UV map so that you can work with it. So this is my philosophy. I know I'm just ranting now, but my philosophy is if you are generous enough to give your work for free to people, or even if you charge something, I mean, it still saves them work, right? But again, please, just avoid those mistakes, because in the end you're not saving those people a lot of work. And as you've probably realized right now, I'm not giving them all 5-star ratings, giving them 4-star ratings, and will probably comment on where it would have saved me some things there. Oh yes, by the way, this is the most fun thing here in top was, of course, why can't I do this here? I even made this little booklet here because, yeah, like I said, I just enjoy this little attention to detail there. Oh, by the way, if you want to have a look at it rendered, it should render now without killing the stream. Let's knock on wood, because I gave OBS its own processor logical core, essentially its own cluster. I think it is what's called, so that Maya can use 3/4 of my CPU, and the other one is being used there for the stream. So it has rendered there on the other thing here. So yeah, this is how it looks rendered. Nothing special, but at least it should look correct if just viewed from afar. And also here with the, let's have a look at there. I always have to check there with my specular reflection. So you can see here in the PlayStation logo that this looks correct. It's just those minor little things that I don't know why. You probably realize that I'm more or less a perfectionist, and I can spend hours tweaking those little details until I feel they're just spot on. But by the way, this very simple PlayStation 1 CD case that you can't even open uses 3 4K maps. So there we go. Perfectionist, you! I know, I was surprised myself as I was tweaking vertices on, where was it? Yeah, where I manually connected here in this band those faces manually, essentially. So this one here. This is when I realized that, Phil, maybe you're doing this a little bit too much. You should dial it down a little, and yeah. Just a little. But yeah, this is what keeps me up at night. So what has this to do with anything that we're going to do today? For one thing, I'm just proud with how it came out and how it looks like. And let me bring up here, where do I have it? There we go, my little script. I will zoom in a little. So this is how it starts here. We see TV screen static newsreel content from August 2002, and it is late in August. Channel switch to MTV, channel switch, and then the TV becomes a 3x4 CRT monitor showing Warcraft 3. So my idea is that, let me just move it over. Again, my idea is that, so we are here in, wrong shortcut. There we go. So we are slowly zooming in, and when we are so halfway zoomed in, then the image portion stays at the exact same place, but the surroundings just fade into also a still life of 2002's computer system with a screen and a keyboard and maybe the tower there and yeah, maybe a pin board in the background and so on. So this is what I want to get started today, because this one here looks to me rather finished. I wanted to try here something out with more books on the left side, or maybe just a lava lamp there on the right side. But yeah, I decided against it. By the way, if you're wondering why the hell did I have here this potted plant here, the reason is because it casts lovely shadows. And also an interesting thing is, when I first did the setup of this, and while the rendering side looked pretty realistic and cool, let me make it a little bit bigger, but for some reason there was something missing that made it look incorrect. And it took me quite a bit until when I was toying around, I realized it hit me out of the blue what was missing, and that was cables. And I think just having this tangled mess here of cables that we all came to know really sells this thing that it looks more realistic. So I'm quite happy with how this turns out. I mean, it doesn't have to look very photorealistic, but at least close enough to the real thing that at least it feels, like I said, it just should evoke some memories from 2002 if you were already around at that time. because I'm old. So, right. So what do I need for this? I don't need the plans, I would assume. First, I need a reference with how this should look like. Let me just find here my references so that I can show you what my references for 2002's offices or, well, workplaces, desktops, let's say desktops are. References, there we go. So those are my references. I tweeted some of them the other day, where I said, yeah, apropos of nothing, this is how I lived and looked like and worked in 2002. And yeah, this is going to be my reference with, yeah, and just in terms of how things looked. For one thing here, I have this ugly blue Logitech mouse. I have my Starbucks mug with the old Starbucks logo and so on. And you can see here, mess of cables, and look at this, it's a PS2 next to a Sony Trinitron monitor. And you might, if you've watched my some of my post-mortems, you might recognize this VCR, which was back then brand new. Well, it was not that brand new anymore, but I mean, I still have it almost 20 years later. Yeah, those are the DVDs that I had with my, you can see here just on the top corner, this belongs to the PS2. So those were some DVDs that I had. Das Schweigen der Lämmer is the German title of Silence of the Lambs, by the way. So yeah, just Monty Python, Alien, South Park, Armageddon, more South Park because I was just obsessed with South Park because I had no opportunity to watch it apart from 160 by 120 pixels. This kind of postage stamp, real media downloaded somewhere where one episode had like 12 megabytes or so on. And I really wanted to get the full high resolution of South Park because I was just entranced with how subversive it was. Anyway, yeah, just some more. By the way, this is, I think this is here, Max Payne. Also a great game there. Yeah, this is how it looked when I was still living with my parents. What do we have here? Lots of rewritable media. Those are rewritable CDs, I think. Then those are written CDs. Called myself Josoft, by the way. And we got some DV tapes there, I think, and mini discs there. And beautiful hair. Look at this beautiful hair. Oh, I'm so jealous. Yeah, more cables. This is my reference for just the insane amount of different kind of cables we had here. Those three combined, I don't know, what was it called? Those joint cables, because this I don't see that often anymore, frankly. And yeah, just this huge amount of cables, which was just normal, just normal components. Thank you, Cursey-Boo. Yeah, this was my keyboard back then. As you can see here, even back then I was a retro computing enthusiast, but it was when I think I got the access to the internet in 2001. So yeah, I don't think I was part of any retro computing community back then, but trademark coffee stains there on my keyboard already. This is so horrible. And yeah, this is what my monitor looked like, my computer monitor. By the way, this is a rendering being done in 3D Studio Max for, I think it was some kind of school assessment. And there on the corner, I got a cutout of a photograph of someone's cat. I don't own a cat. I don't know whose cat this is anymore. But I think there in the bottom corner, okay, so there it was just a sticker from a bread box somewhere. Yeah, anyway, beautiful times. Oh yeah, this is my PS2. This I used as a reference there for how the surface would be. So this was, I think, the first day that I got my PS2. This was on February 1st, 2002 that I got my PlayStation 2, and I was obsessed with it. Yeah, again here, so we can see also here candy wrappers, and this is my AMD. I think it was one of those Pentium processor thingies there. I used to have it open, and yeah, just some kind of sheets there on the wall. Iced tea and salsa, my god. Iced tea and salsa. And this was, by the way, a Samsung subwoofer, which I lugged through Vienna to the train station and then at home. And I think I carried this huge hunk for maybe 5 to 6 kilometers because it was before I had a car. So yeah, it was quite a journey, and more cables. I don't think this has changed a lot, frankly. Okay, so I realized that my stream was buffering right now, so I hope things are getting normal with you. I'm not rendering anything, but my wife is streaming Netflix. She just discovered Westworld and loves it, and I think I have to watch it myself. I once, with Westworld, the interesting thing is, when I first heard her watching Westworld and the title melody was running, and I thought, my God, I know this from work, from my work. And turns out I was doing the color grading on a live documentary series on hotels, those big touristic 5-star hotels and so on. And yeah, the director used the Westworld soundtrack essentially, and I was doing the color grading and also had a temp audio mix in there that was not finished, but had all the music in, not the voiceovers. So I was constantly listening to it over and over and thought, man, this is some good music. Now I realized that it's essentially Westworld. Yeah, and this is the last reference photo that I'll be using as my reference, because there's just so much in there. For one thing, excuse the mess, this is how I lived as a teen. And you can see here a clash of technologies, CD-ROMs and what is this? It's VCR tapes. Wonderful. Video cassettes. And there we got some DVDs and CDs and a huge box of rewritable media and system discs. And look at this, it's a guitar. And there is Warcraft 2. Apparently Sorceress could make out that it says there Warcraft 3. Was it 2, 3? It was 3, right? So yeah, more and more cables, more and more candy wrappers, mess, iced tea, and so on. So what I'm looking for to recreate now is just to get a decent looking monitor, something like this huge thing here, maybe some kind of keyboard here. This wasn't, I don't think that this was a mechanical keyboard by choice. It was just by accident or by availability. And then maybe I will try to recreate this subwoofer here. I'm not quite sure if it's needed. And of course what we need here, I'm not 100% certain, but this could be a Iomega zip disk. Has anyone had any run-ins with zip disks, because they were the hottest shit back then? By the way, at this place I didn't have internet, so I lived there many months in the summer because it didn't have any heating. So in the winter I moved back home, but I didn't have internet there. And to get my fix of programs and stuff, and I was big into sound fonts for my MIDI instruments. It's just like sample libraries, but I couldn't copy them because the symphony orchestra that was it called Symphobia? No, it was not called Symphobia. Symphonia or so. Thing is, I couldn't copy it onto a floppy disk because I had this stack of 10 floppy disks, if you recall, 1.44 megabytes per disk. And if something was like 3 or 4 megabytes big, I had to zip it and then just have a more or less striped version, and had 4 floppies with 4 megabytes essentially. But this symphony thing was like 36 megabytes, and I used around 25 to 30 floppies, and there was always one part of the archive broken. This is when I saved up some money and got myself an Iomega zip drive, so you could have 100 megabytes connected via USB 1. And it also took a long time, but at least this was my preferred way of data transfer. And then when finally around 2003 or so, the first flash drive, the first USB sticks came up, and people were using them with like 4 megabytes per USB stick, or 12 megabytes, or oh my God, 16 megabytes. I thought, 16 megabytes, come on, this is never going to catch on. I got a zip disk with 100 megabytes and the newest version has 250 megabytes. I don't need a flash drive. So don't take any kind of prophecies from me in terms of the future. And yes, I'm well aware of the fact that I call myself Pixel Prophecy. So yeah, take it for what it's worth. No refunds. Zip disks were great for about 1 to 2 years, Sorcerer's Rights, and then CD writers were similarly priced and the blank media were cheap. Yes, and this is essentially what happened here. So I think I was already making use here of those platinum CD discs here, because they were just so much more huge in terms of how much you could save it, and as you said, cheap. They kept getting cheaper, because the first time I was thinking about getting a CD burner, they said it did cost around 20,000 shillings. This was before we had the euro in Austria, so I don't really know how to convert this, but it's a couple of thousands of euros at least. So I thought I will never have one of those. Then I got my first DVD burner, by the way, and it had more or less the exact measurements of the 1541 disk drive of the Commodore 64. I think I have somewhere a comparison photo where one is for 320 kilobyte size discs and the other is for 4 something DVDs. Man, it's so lovely looking back to the past and see how good we have it actually. Look at this. This was my very first computer. The cool thing about this is if the power failed, you wouldn't lose any of your progress. It could store up to 1 page of memory at the same time. Bad thing is it was write-only memory, but the cool thing is it had an integrated printer. So I think maybe we will see more of these things in the future back then. Okay, so this is my reference. So what will I need for my retro 2002's computer then, essentially? I will be using, I'm trying to find now one of those big CRT monitors there, and one keyboard, and maybe one old-timey PC tower, just to have things there. And the first thing, let me switch back to Maya there, and open my scene from before. Yeah, we don't need to save this. Is, like I said, because I want this continuous pan, and then essentially just the background would change, but not the display or where it's the image is on the screen. There are 2 things essentially that I want to carry over here, and this is the actual screen. By the way, let me just bring it up here. The screen is twofold because, of course, there is a display glass, and behind the display glass I have the display image there. And now I only need to find here my hypershade. Of course, it's on the other monitor. Yeah, look at this. This is the amount of materials that I have in this scene for everything you see here. And half of it, at least half of it, is just this PlayStation 2 model. Okay, I'm not going to go to rant again. I'm sorry you have to sit through this, but again, I really appreciate your medium to low attention to my ramblings. So what I wanted to show you is, let me just find here the material, the screen content. Color balance, there we go, color gain. So yeah, this is the screen content. This is the one thing that I want to carry over, that it is exactly in the same place when we are going to fade over. So I need, of course, let's just copy the whole TV screen over, or let's retain it. And where is my camera? There is my camera, and also the camera. Maybe I will also use the HDR image. This, by the way, this HDR image here, this panorama, this as it's called, anniversary lounge there, is just used for lighting purposes. So if I'm rendering without this, it looks fake in a sense. But this one here just gives this warm, friendly, kind of living room glow. So I just, you know what? I saved the scene as, let's give this a new name, or you know what? I make a new folder, even call this Office PC Room. Why not? And yeah, just give it Office, just give it a title there. And I will delete everything but the TV and the camera. Maybe keep here just the floor plane in there. Yeah, this is aptly enough how it looks. Oh, look at this. I even forgot this one little light here. Let me show you. because at first I wanted to give it a very gloomy feeling there with just this blue backlit thing there, something along those lines. But then I realized, yeah, it doesn't say much of, it doesn't spell a friendly afternoon living room, but this more looks like some kind of the future is now. The home computer has arrived with a Pentium 1 processor by Intel. So it looks something like those kinds of cheesy tech commercials of this. This is why I opted for a more realistic lighting. Tutvari says, what project is this? This is, again, I went way off a tangent there in one of my pet projects, and currently I'm making a small video about the infamous driving racetrack mission in Mafia from 2002, because this was just one of the most horrible missions there ever was, and I recently played the game and I thought I have to make a video about this. What makes this mission so bad, how it's be played, my horrible experiences with it, and then give an overview at why it was so bad and what we can learn from it. And in the beginning I just want to set the scene there and say the year 2002, and start here with this friendly living room where we zoom in and see some 2002 stuff, and then it fades over, but the camera is still moving into a CRT screen with a computer setup from 2002. And this is, of course, again, I'm overscoping, let's do this in Maya. Okay, so let's throw out everything else, all those TVs, the plants, the poster. Maybe I keep one of those surfaces there. I mean, I can use a different texture anyway. Get rid of the cables and the PC1 case. Let's keep the back wall for now and the wood board. TV screen, like I said, just to be sure, and the potted cactus. And this is what remains. So, well, I don't need the entire screen, right? All I need is, let's delete this. All I need is here, this surface there. And, oh yes, this one here, this is the glass that extends quite far behind it. Actually, we don't need it. So let's go to the front view. Now this was the left view. Where is it? And yeah, I can delete most of those faces there. I don't need those. Apparently I missed a couple of them. A lot. Man, you probably can't see it because they are so small here, those faces there, but yeah, anyway, it's not that important that they are all gone. I just don't like wasted vertices when I see them. So yeah, maybe just get rid of those as well. And there it's probably easier to spot here now. There we go. Cool. Okay, so cleaned this up here, and yeah, next thing I need, like I said, is a CRT monitor, cathode ray monitor. Where can I find it? Again, my number one go-to is TurboSquid, for one thing that I have already an account here. And let me just show you quickly here in my downloads what wrong zoom button, this one here should work. Yeah, of what I download so far, I once need sports bottles, tried this Super Nintendo thing here, the controller, which was not good. Those I use in another pet project. Here I already have a PC, which I thought this is pretty cool, and it costs not that much. The problem is that it's 3ds Max only, and I can't use this. If you buy something, you can request a format transfer, which is quite cool. But of course, with free models, why bother? So you either are happy with it or not. I mean, if I really wanted to use this model, I could get a demo version of 3ds Max and then import it and export it there again and uninstall the demo version. But I think I did this so many times already that I'm not allowed, and I'm not given from Autodesk another trial month of 3ds Max, because at this point they're getting a little bit suspicious now. Yeah, there is this beautiful computer pack there. which I thought I might be using, but frankly, this looks a little bit too new to me. So this looks like your mom's computer setup from 2008, more or less. So, but the cool thing, like I said, I'm very grateful to the community who just upload this for free. So again, with free models, really, I'm not complaining about how people have set up their models. I'm just complaining about where I paid. Like for this Sony Trinitron, as I've shown you before, I paid a whopping $8. I mean, it's still a bargain. It's still a bargain. And usually when something was sold for money and not free for my own projects, I was just horribly reluctant, because I thought, man, it's still $8 and I don't want to just waste money on some pet projects. I'm not using this for any kind of client work or anything. But now at this point I want to say thank you so much, patrons. Because of you, now I don't have to think twice, and I can I can spend $8 because I don't have to worry about this, and I don't need to spend 2 days trying to recreate a TV screen by myself, and then it's only used once. And the PlayStation that I also showed you before cost me $10, which is also a bargain, especially for the amount that you get. It's not just the PlayStation, but also the memory card and the DualShock controller and so on. And we got the indoor plants and the book, just a couple of books, and maybe I will use this desk storage organizer here. Let me show you. Maybe I can use this here also in our office computer screen thing there in the background. Well, of course, then I have to get rid of the smartphone there, Zeus smartphone. But the rest, I mean, looks pretty area appropriate. It's a little bit low poly, so if it's in the background, I think it should work. Commander Stitch is there, yay! So let's find ourselves a CRT monitor, CRT screen. Maybe I should have Googled for computer monitor. Well, there we are. And the first thing is that, man, those look really nice. And the next thing is, wait, what? How much? So the first thing I usually do is change my sort here from best match to lower prices and see how cheap I can find something that I need. So, and we can see here, when something is free, well, it is the quality you get is the quality you pay for. So yeah, this is just very, very basic. This one is, I mean, yeah, for a cartoon, maybe it could work, or a children's TV thing, but overall it's not really useful. This one here is horribly low poly. This one here seems to be also very low poly, and just the textures are doing all the work. This one is beautiful, but not what I need, and so on and so forth. And yeah, this is, like I said, this is the downside of just Googling for free stuff, because I need my monitor to be HD compatible in a sense. Well, you don't. I don't want you to see triangles or blurred textures there when we are at full HD on close up. So maybe this one here, 17-inch screen, my own design for $10. So yeah, let's put it on the list. And yeah, it won't get cheaper than $10 here. So I'm just keep scrolling here, and we are here. Well, this monitor looks. And this looks very low poly as well, and it's $20, so this is probably a little bit too steep for my purposes. This one here is Cinema 4D, and the screen looks to be too artificially flat. I want this bulbous appearance there. Man, if I could get some of those monitors there, this one looks really great, but it's also a little bit too old. Frankly, this one would work in the 80s, but $40 at this point, yeah, it still feels that I'm a little bit. This one here, $24, and it says low poly. Let's have a look at this one here. Highest quality guarantee. This doesn't look like highest quality. If you can't see it, I can see here already the lack of quality in this texture map. So this must be like a maybe a 1K texture map or even less, because you can see it here all on those dots here. So I hope we can see a wireframe of this thing here. Yeah, I'm not paying $24 for this. I'm really sorry. Yeah. Damn it. this hurts. Yeah, how about this one here? The screen is also too flat. Like I said, I want this bulbous version there. So yeah, let's keep searching. And this is sadly the biggest part there, is just trying to find the thing that you get for the cheapest thing that fits your expectations the most. What do we have here? Low poly PC collection. This looks good, but on closer inspection, we've seen this monitor before, and yeah, the rest here looks also very, very basic. And $40, I'm really sorry, this is not worth $40 to me. Old PC monitor. Okay, so now we are already here in the bit pricey section. Vintage PC. Now let's see how well this is modeled. I mean, it looks decent, I have to say, and I really dig this monitor with how it looks like. Maybe it's a bit too old for 2002. I mean, who had 2002 monitors that had still all those options there? Well, at least some, but I think it's a bit too small. I think I had a 17-inch monitor back then. I mean, yeah, okay, I think $95 for this was almost justified. 120, probably not. But again, it depends. If it's for client work and you can just trickle down the costs to your client when you're working with something, I think this could be all right. But yeah, I think this is just the monitor, right, from this old PC then, and it sells for $55. You know, let's look for computer screen then. Computer screen. As we all know, most of it comes down to having the right search to finding stuff that you need. So computer screen, of course, gives us more or less just flat screens, but at least here we are in the $1 department, which I think is okay, but things are getting pricier. CRT monitor, low poly. Yeah, why? You don't have to have it to be low poly. I need high poly monitors. Because like I said, in the end, I'm a little bit afraid that I need to do this here. Look at this. I probably don't need this, but this, man, this is juicy. This looks like a wonderful, wonderfully modeled connection plug. This looks very nice. I like this. I'm not going to buy it, but €5.80 is, if you need this, is, I think it's almost a bargain for this kind of amount of detail. So there we are. We have this monitor 2, old television, yes, but it's not what I want. Oh, I think we've seen this monitor. Yeah, my own design. Again, it's too flat. I don't need a flat screen. Some Star Trek sci-fi screen, and the design there is clearly inspired by L cars, but without rounded corners, so it's not a rip-off, but it is a rip-off. It is, well, not a rip-off, it's a plagiarism. Okay, so what do we have here? 3D web page. I'm just curious about this thing here, because whoever made this wants $10 for this, and I'm curious about, I want to see a wireframe of this. Seriously, this is your wireframe. $10. And all you have is just some extruded buttons here and a mouse pointer. Wow, I'm a little bit surprised that someone is really that cheeky. But of course you don't have to buy it, so. Oh, look at those wonderful old monitors. This, you probably have seen it here with me, is that I like my research and I easily get distracted by research. But this one here, this one is beautiful because it all has all those little scuff marks there and chipped off paint and so on. You know what? I want this there. Well, not add to cart. Can I put this on my wish list or something? Because maybe I will use it for one thing or another. And I mean, look at this. It's relatively low poly as well. Very low poly. But the textures do the most of the heavy lifting. So I like this. I like this very much. But again, it is not what I'm looking here for. Oh, look at this. This looks like one of those old TV studio monitors. Again, 15 euros for this, absolutely justified. Look at the amount of detail there in the textures. This is very well done. And low poly even, but you don't notice it, so very cool. Okay, we are here now on page 5, I think, and all we get when we look for computer screen is just various Nokia and HTC phones. So I think I should try different search terms then. Maybe if I just look for computer monitor. Yeah, we get our flat screens there. This one here, it says free and LWO. I think that's a Lightwave object. Yeah, Lightwave 7.5. Haven't seen Lightwave in a while. So this CRT monitor, could this work? Yeah, this is very low poly. Look at this here, you can already see here the texture is not up to snuff. Yeah, sorry, but I can't use this. Oh, look at this, it's an old Macintosh. Very nice. What about this one here? The Luminance 3000 XE. Okay, one thing here is very nice that at least you show off that you did some kind of UV automatic texture mapping. But yeah, the buttons here are just pentagons, so it's low poly, I would assume. I mean, you can smooth those out, but still, yeah, it looks wrong. It looks wrong, I'm really sorry. This doesn't look like a screen, this looks more like, I don't know, someone modeling a screen without having an actual reference. Yeah, I'm a little bit distraught at this point because I thought, yeah, just pop in a screen there, do some lighting shading, pop in something else here. What do we have here? Monitors, types and proportions. Can we work with this? This is a nightmare fuel. Okay, so those are just monitor concepts there. Again, with this one, I don't know how much or what is included there. But yeah, I mean, $5 is very okay for this low poly look. The downside is, yeah, it's just low poly and I don't need most of the included things. Look at this monitor. It's a Studio Max version, but yeah, also very low poly, but at least I like the overall feel of it. This one looks very authentic in a sense in terms of, yeah, proportions and so on. So I just keep this open. But I don't think that... Oh, look at this. What is this here? I clicked too soon. This one here, monitor. And it is even rigged. This looks very nice. Maybe a little bit too low poly. But look at this, they even got this connector here. Very nice, very nice. Yes, this is low poly. But in UV map. God bless people who are using UV maps. And proper UV maps. You know what, I think I might work with this one and then just try to add some more detail to it. Maybe do it with the help of shading there. But let's have a closer look there. So we got here, so this is the texture map. So maybe we can scale it up there. But it looks pretty cool there. I mean, this is more or less game ready, right? So it's already got some baked ambient occlusion, and this is how it looks without baked ambient occlusion. $10. Yeah, I mean, it says here CRT. For fictional brands, Ferna model with wire equipped with a skeleton for controlling the position of the part. So look at this. This is an articulated monitor model. Wonderful. But again, not the one that I need. Maybe here is something in the suggestions. Oh, what is this? Yeah, this could almost work. Again, this looks a little too old, but maybe at least here the poly count looks to be sufficient. But $32, it's a bit pricey, I have to say. But look at this, the mouse here again, with those wonderful curled wire. But again, you can't work with this. So, okay. Downside number one, everything is triangles and not quads. So you can't do any kind of smoothing after the fact. So if this doesn't work, you can't work with it. But you know what? I'm really tempted to buy this. What do you think? Does this look to you like a 2000 setup? Probably not, right? With the tower here. So we maybe need another tower there. But if we just block here the tower off, like we just like so, we just look at the monitor and maybe the keyboard. What do you think? Could this work there for a 2000s monitor? Does this evoke for you 2000s feelings, nostalgia? Because then I might have to get my wallet and pay $30 for this. Let's see if I'm still streaming. Yes, I'm actually still streaming. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sticking with me. So apparently there is absolutely no activity in the chat now. So again, you know what? I will keep looking for a little bit more. This one, $5 as a reference. I can close this tab here. This one, no. This one we can't use because, I mean, this one would have been my favorite actually, but sadly it is 3ds Max and it looks to be very low poly. Oh, Commander Stitch is here. Wonderful. Thank you. Or does anyone here among you have 3ds Max? Oh, we're window shopping with Phil. Yeah, apparently I should have changed the title there. So it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. I mean, if I look at this thing here, this would be the setup that I really wanted. But again, it's 3ds Max only, but the price is wonderful. Oh, you can't get any cheaper. This is one very nice computer. True said. All textures come with it. I mean, I would like to see a wireframe of this because this also doesn't look to be too high poly there. I've just here a suspicion that the mouse is just a couple of polygons, but it's really hard to tell on this one here. Look at this. It got 0 vertices. I don't think this is possible. But product ID January 30, 2002. So, yeah. 11 products since 2002. So this might be low poly because probably back then in 2002 when this was the current state of the art, this was a high poly model and nowadays it's more or less a game ready model. Sorcerer says, can you not convert formats with third-party software? Yes and no. There was once this one website that would allow you to convert one thing into another, but I think I tried it out with some other Max files and it just didn't work. It was just broken in a sense. I think the only way where I could do this, like I said, would be if I have someone who has 3D Studio Max and just imports this and exports me a XBF format. Because sadly, I can't just get me Studio Max again, can I? You know what? I say download. I will try this anyway. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, this is why I enjoyed it so much. I already have it added here on June 4th, so 3 days ago. Already try this. You know what? Let's try this. I will download it. So it just says network.max and this is just a geometry. There are no textures with it. So this is one downside, which I think I could work with because doing textures is, well, not my bread and butter, but half of it. So there we have network. You know what? Let's try this website again. Max to FBX converter. Maybe something comes up. Anyconvert.com. So let's give this a try here. I mean, the worst thing is that it just breaks and I have to look for something else. But I mean, the price is just wonderful. 3ds to FBox, Anycon, Autodesk. FBX converter archives. Transfer files from one file format to another. Enables you and 3ds files to or from. Look at this. Why didn't anyone tell me this? The Autodesk has this converted here. Oh, it's from 2013, the latest one. You know what? Screw this. I will try it again. Anyway, I mean, this apparently this Studio Max file is from 2002. Maybe it works. So yeah, it's this one here is still converting. You know what? Let's try this. Let's try converting here our model. Yes, I accept everything. Please take my soul and my firstborn. Why not? I need to convert a file format. Would you like to open the README file? I would not. Add Explorer extension? No. I just need to convert this single file there. So, okay. Let's try this then. Okay, this looks promising. Let's import here the max file and bring this up here so that you can all follow along. Okay, can I add this max file here? Apparently it does not work. So where do I have it? Samples. Well, wonderful that you have samples. Let's source files, 3ds. Oh, of course, this is still a max file and not a 3ds file, because 3D max files I think were called .max. So this is the first problem that we have, is that I need a Studio Max version from way back. You know what? Let's try open this max file here in the text editor. Cool. Now I'm on my other monitor there. And see if there is anything that we can make out. What are those first two? What's the magic number here? Okay, I wanted to do some happy, funny little CGI and stuff, and what's going on now. Now I'm trying to find my hex editor and get the magic number out of max files, and just to confirm that it really is a max file or a 3ds file. So the magic number is DOCF. Okay. Yeah, this one, apparently this one here doesn't convert because it's not converting. Okay, so what did I say? DO3 no. Max file format. What is a max file and how do I open it? 3ds. Okay. 3ds max file was one of the formats. Structure, binary file. Okay, it's 4D. 4D is the main chunk. So apparently this is not the one that we have here. We got DOCF as our first values there. This is not good. This is not good. Is anything here? I don't think I can. I just, at least I was a little bit deluded in a sense that I thought maybe I could do a little max to 3ds file format conversion. Shortcomings. This is wonderful. If your file format has a section there on Wikipedia that just reads shortcomings. Yeah, this is one thing. All meshes must be made of triangles. This is bad. DOS file names to DOS format. Yeah, number of vertices is limited to more. Okay, one last thing that I will try now is in maybe Maya. I mean, Maya is part of Autodesk for how long now? I mean, Studio Max. I think Autodesk bought Studio Max in 2008. You know what? Let's try this. Let's try and find if there is a max file importer there that is just not activated. Plugin manager. So there we go. So autoloader and just go. Let's go to max. Matrix nodes, my characterization. Studio Max maybe? No. 3ds Max also not. Wire, FBX Maya, Maya to Arnold. I will try it anyway. Just try it. Import desktop network.max. Yeah, I expected as much, but at least, yeah. Free browser toolbars with your downloads, says Sorceress. Yeah, apparently you never know what you get with strange downloads there. But maybe as long as it's not Bonzi Buddy, anyone remembers that one? I think it came with every Flash or with the Real Player installation. My God, the Real Player. Anyone recalls that one? Okay, so Max File Maya import. Let's go here. Is there a plugin to import Max files from 2015? And the answer is solved. Go to solution. I want to go to the solution. The solution is I have 3ds Max in Maya on my system and can't send files back. In Maya, in the file menu, select send to 3ds Max. In Max, I use send to Maya. You can also use it. Yeah, thank you. This is not helpful. This assumes that you have both software. You know what? Let's try this. Why not? Why not? Here we are. Where is my Autodesk thingy? Autodesk desktop app. There we go. I'm going to try to install Studio Max now. Wonderful. My updates. My products and tools. Okay. Ask your Twitter friends if they can convert it. This is a wonderful idea. Perfect. Of course, use the crowd because the crowd always knows better than you. Hey, everyone. I'm looking for someone who is able and willing to convert a .max file into .fbx. This is not how to write, to type the word convert. To convert. Anyone? Question mark. Your help is appreciated. Smiley face. Okay, so let's try this then. Thank you, Sorceress, of course. Just ask for help. That's something. I mean, it's really that simple. Just ask someone. But this hardly crosses my mind, and this is why I spent way too much time trying to reinvent the wheel for the nth time. So then let's watch the notifications and let's do something else. So I don't have the screen here. So the downside of this is that I don't know how high or low I can place here my desk here. But as for the desk, you know what? At least we can work on the desk now. So maybe the desk is a little bit further so that there is space to put a keyboard there. Maybe something like this. Maybe. That we can, or like so, that there is a keyboard there. Of course, it would not make a lot of sense, or at least it would even be distracting if the wood grain is exact same one that we had before. There's still all those materials from the PlayStation 2 in here. So this is a wonderful thing that I have here in Maya once it lets me here to make this window here bigger. A wonderful function here in Maya is to delete unused nodes, which is just heaven sent. If I can find it. Delete unused nodes. And this looks much better now. So here we got the AI wood. AI is Arnold illuminated material or so. So yeah, I just use for myself that everything is here prefixed with AI. That I know it is one of those Arnold materials. So yeah, it's just for the renderer so that it's physically correct. So I already bought some wood recently. So can't have too many wood textures. So how would your desk be if you work on a computer? Would it be even wood? That's one question there. Would you have a wooden desk? I mean, right now I have this IKEA faux wood there. It's more like, yeah, it's at least it's thicker than cardboard. But you might would have just maybe just some kind of laminated desk surface. I don't know. Probably not something dark and oaken. Conti board. What the hell is Conti board? Let me look. Conti board. I've never heard this term before, I have to say. Conti board. Fixing Conti board. Wardrobe. Conti board. So it's just some kind of... oh, I know this as plywood board. So it's just... I'll just bring it up here. So it's just those kind of boards there. So I'm just interested there in the surface and not in the cross section. So can I get this bigger? So essentially it's just some nondescript white surface in the end. But yeah, let's try this. I just you know what, I kick here. This was the wrong material. Here we are in the wood again. We are back in the wood, singular. Okay, this was the wrong zoom. There we are. Okay, so I'm not going to use the diffuse of the wood, but the specularity and the bump, or the normal values. So let's give it this kind of whitish gray here. This looks okay. So it feels like it has this little wood texture underneath, which is just a bump map. So, oh my god, where am I? Where am I with my mouse? It's what IKEA use, says Sorceress. Okay. This is why it looks so familiar. So it's just those shredded trees pressed together until you can call it Billy. Okay, so the next thing here is, when I'm just toying here with surfaces and rendering, is that I need some kind of light, or ideally already the final lighting environment. So one thing here is that I create a Arnold lights and area light. And when you do this, everything resets here in the graphics driver, and there is my area light, and it is tiny. Here it is. Okay, so just need to bring it up, and because light, sorry, wrong keys. Light decays with this distance traveled squared. This is why I bring it just back quite a lot, so that there is not too much of a light change there. So how would your light be on your computer screen? When you're working on the computer, I think my assumption is that you would have some kind of table or desk lamp there, and this would be pretty much the main source of light there, especially when you're gaming late at night. You only have probably one light source. So this is why I would assume maybe bring it in here closer and not that wide, so that I have here this light source maybe here. Let's look through the light. This is also a nice function of Maya. So now I am the light and can look through here. So let's assume I'm a table lamp. So maybe I should also get a model of a table lamp then. Let's see what's going on Twitter. Martijn Fraser retweeted your tweet. This is very helpful. Thanks, Martijn. Probably not watching, but still, thank you. So yeah, let's try this lighting here for starters, and I'll switch back to the perspective view and switch on the lights. And it's too dark, of course. So the intensity, let's turn it to 100, and the exposure to 10 maybe. This is too much, to 5. That's too little. Let's try 8 then. And I can say here in my Arnold light attributes, I think I can use the color temperature, and because it's going to be some kind of tungsten table light, I just turn it down to say 3500 or so, that it has this yellow sheen, yellow appearance to it. I am the light would be a good LD theme. Probably, yes, you know what? So maybe we should suggest it for the next time then. Okay, so let's do a quick test render and hope that my stream still survives this. Walk tool is activated. Wow, apparently I activated my walk tool. In Maya, this is quite interesting that you can just plop down to the ground and then just walk around with Vast. Okay, so here we get the first rendering here. I mean, this is just here I think this is how the 1960s envisioned the future. It's just a CRT tube, but suspended in midair. Okay, so this could work as our light source. Maybe it's a bit too strong. And I like the color, more or less, but what I don't like is that I can't see it here. So this is my walk mode. Maybe I should switch out of the walk mode. That I can't see it here. So this is why I will switch off here now, use color temperature. Because as you've seen it's only visible there in the rendering. And when I change here my color here in the scene, it makes much more. It's much more easier visible what's happening there. So okay, so let's assume that this is my table lamp. Make it a bit smaller then. And not as bright. Let's try 6 then. Maybe this will be a little bit too little, so let's try 7. Okay, and let's try here to get this surface right there of our desk then. I really like this Maya preview there in the viewport, because otherwise I recall the good old days of before real-time rendering and DirectX 11 and so on, that you would, whatever you would do, you would just tweak some values, render, tweak some values, render, tweak some values, render, and now you can really at least see it there in the viewport. Okay, so this is wood. I just call it AI surface. And let's change here now the specularity. So with the color, maybe make it a bit more gray, and the roughness here, put it down quite a lot so that it is more reflective. So you can see here, maybe this now is even a bit too reflective. So I turn up the roughness again, and the weight is influenced here by the texture of the wood. So I just say that it doesn't reflect as strongly, or at least the reflected color is just a dark gray. And let's try here the bump value. What happens when I turn it up a bit more? Does this look correct? I mean, I like how it looks here in the specularity there. This looks pretty realistic, like some kind of painted wood, or even if it's not a real wood. But I'd say let's keep this. Let's keep this. But because I'm still a bit worried that it looks too much like we had before, because it's essentially the same texture, I will just turn here, rotate the texture by 180 degrees, that we just have here a different set of fibers there. And the next thing is, like I said, because I want the color to be... Oh, I just 45 seconds ago I got someone, Davide B, who says on Twitter, DM me, and which I shall do right now on the other monitor. So there we go. Follow and direct message. Hey, thank you so much. All I would need is this model. Can I attach something on Twitter? I don't think you can. Is a simple model converted to FBX. I'll have the link for you in a second. Smiley face, because I'm a happy person. I like to smile. So that whoever this wonderful person is doesn't have to download this thing again. Oh, of course, there it is. I will just zip it. PC. Zip. How big is this file now? It's zipped down to, isn't this wonderful? It's zipped down to 258 kilobytes. You could send this on a floppy multiple times. Wonderful. Okay, so now I need to upload it to my server. Pixel Prophecy, there we go. Yeah, just go to stuff there. PC, copy URLs to clipboard and send him. my URL. Oh, this is HTTPS Pixel Prophecy. And let's test it if this is the right URL. Wrong key combination. This looks right. And thanks again, smiley. Cool. Twitter is over capacity. Please wait a few moments and try again. How? Let's try this. Okay, now it worked. Wonderful. So again, thank you so much for staying with me, sticking with me, and looking at this live there. You've chosen to open. Yeah, I don't need this now. So there we are. Okay, so next thing is, you know what? I need a little bit more light, I would say. Yeah, that it looks more realistic because, excuse me, you need a lot of lights that something looks realistic. It's weird that way. By the way, what's happening there on the back wall? Oh, the back wall I think is reflecting my area light here. So of course the back wall, you know what, how deep will the monitor be? How far will it extend in the back? I will, you know what, I will scale here now my desk a little bit wider, like so, and bring the wall a bit further in front, like this. And of course I need to change probably also the wall there, that it's not the same wall as in the other scene from before. Right, I need an environment to have it as kind of as a reference, or not so much as a reference, as an actual source of lighting. And for this I just Google for free HDR, because there is this wonderful website that is called HDRI Haven, and it is a heaven. And they also have a Patreon because they don't charge for their HDRIs, and this is just a treasure trove if you need just some skyboxes or panoramas. So again, it's HDRI heaven, and I mean, look at this: nature, urban, night, sunrise, clear, partly cloudy, outdoor, and I need indoor, and I need something that could work halfway for some kind of room where someone would actually be living in. So this one here, the fireplace, is way too orange, sadly. This one, wooden lounge, is also a bit too yellow. The Lithwood room is a little bit too formal, I would say. I mean, this one, the art studio, maybe this TV studio here. I mean, this is, like I said, it's wonderful. This looks quite good. What this is a hotel room, but yeah, let's just try this one out. The downside of all those is this is the anniversary lounge. This is the one that I used for the other thing. The downside is that there aren't any small and dingy places there. Everything looks quite cool and nice there. Actually, it's a bit too cool. Like I said, I just need a halfway trashed room like I had there as a panel. Look at this, even inside a car. This is wonderful. Cabin, no. Storeroom, I think maybe. The downside is that, of course, we got this ugly incandescent lighting there. But I think, yeah. So I could go either with a hotel room, which I don't like too much because it has those windows there, and maybe I just want to give it this gloomy thing at night. And the wonderful person that says converts it for me says it's a bit late here, so yeah, we don't need it today, just one day. So maybe, you know what, maybe I will try this ugly storeroom here, and maybe I can get rid of this portion here, that I can paint it out, because like I said, but then again, it wouldn't make sense that everything is here. Is it okay if I'll check for you tomorrow? Sure thing, no worries. Thanks. Cool. Maybe there is something else that I can use. Oh, so the hotel room is from the same person. Maybe the subway entrance. Maybe this could work. maybe this could work. You know what? Let's try this subway entrance. Not quite sure why I want to try this, but I have a good feeling about this. So I get here the 4K HDR version, and you don't need to register or anything. You can just click it and download it, and this is wonderful. So did I click OK, or did I just cancel it? I downloaded it onto my desktop here. This makes sense. Now where do I have... where I want to drop it in there? Setups, Maya, source images, HDR eyes. There we go. 4K should be enough in terms of fidelity. So I head over here to Arnold and say lights and Skydome light. And now it's just pure white, so this is why it looks like this. And one thing that's important is to turn up the samples and the resolution. Where is resolution? Oh, apparently I should maybe... oh, there is resolution. Maybe let's try 3000 or 4000. Otherwise, the reflections will look a little bit pixelated. So this is why I need this. So let's pick a file then, and the file itself is under HDR eyes, and here the subway entrance. Let's hit 7 or 6, and this is 7. Why can't I see this? Intensity, is the intensity too low? Oh, yeah, stupid me. Instead of connecting the file to the color, I connected the file to the intensity, which is arguably a creative attempt at something, but is of course not what I want. So there we have our file. You know what? Let's do this completely over. So not the intensity. I want the color, of course, to be controlled by the file. And this looks much better now. Subway entrance. There we go. So now this is our lighting here for our computer room then. Okay, the first thing that I will do is I turn down the intensity of the background. Where is my Skydome? So the intensity, I set it to 0.1. This looks much better. This looks more like I remember it. You know what? Maybe try 0.07, like this. And then I will render it from this perspective, just that we can see if the lighting looks right. You know what? Maybe for this time, just to harken back to my how things I had it previously in my references, wherever they are now. I think I've closed the window. That the background maybe are some kind of wood planks, maybe, or because we had this white background before, and now here we are more or less in some kind of warm environment. So I think I will go with that. Yeah, I think this could work. Of course, I can't tweak it right now because it's missing so much. But you know what? Maybe I will see if I can find a computer keyboard or anything that I can bring in here. And yeah, let's try the back wall. Where is my, of course, yeah. When you have too many monitors, it's very easy to lose certain windows, especially when they are overlapping themselves. Okay, so there we are. Cool. Yes, the wall background is, let me bring up here how it looks here. So the wall, there is the shading network, this is the surface, and this is the color. And for the color, I will try now to find fitting texture then. I mean, since I bought the wood textures there, I'm just trying now to find here, or do I have wood planks there? Yeah, let's try one of those here, that it's not too dark. Maybe this here, wood 24, diffuse, and normal here. Oh god, wood 24 normal. If I can find it. Wood 24 normal. I don't have a specularity for this, but what's wrong here? Why can't I see here? The wood, did I connect the wrong thing here? No, this is called diffuse and it leads into... okay, good. So there we have our wall, but it looks somehow completely wrong. You know what? I would probably need some kind of wood panels. Let me see if I have something that I can find something in my archive. If I quit all those superfluous, not superficial, superfluous windows there. Assets and references, graphics, tracking, 3D models. 3D models? Oh no. Textures and tile sets. There we go. Textures, wood. Oh, it's just the wood that we had. Walls. I got here walls, and this is dirty wall. You know what? Maybe this one, maybe this ugly dirty wall could work even there as our wall there in our ugly room. Maybe put on some on top of it some notes and just sheets of paper. You know what? This could work. This could work. I will try now to incorporate this wall instead of this way too clean wood wall. Just need to find my folder there. We have X, setups, Maya, source images, wall. Copy with Explorer. There we go. Okay, so let's try this again. For now, I just keep the bump map there and use there my dirty wall. You know what? This looks oddly authentic. This looks oddly authentic, I have to say. So maybe I just move this screen here a little bit back, and that we have at least something there that we can work with and try, just to get things done, is I can try to find now a keyboard, an old-timey keyboard. If I can find it there on TurboSquid, that we have at least something that we can import. Or maybe this little desk organizer. You know what? Let's import the desk organizer. Okay, download. I didn't have to click it again. What do we have here? Oh, we have all the textures there. So I make here a new folder, call it desk organizer. This is also the downside when we're working with a lot of models that you or any assets that you got from anywhere. Yeah, most of it is really just managing where to put things that you will find those. Okay, so instead of having one texture map there, everything is made up of those things here, of various. That's really weird. Of various sizes. So I would have preferred just this one texture map there. But at least look at this. This is all over the place, I have to say, for the wood. Anyway, let's see how this works. How it maybe we need to do some kind of reskinning and so on and so forth. But hey, at least it doesn't cost anything, so I'm not too picky. Okay, setups, Maya, then models. Where are my models? And I'm not talking about the catwalk. So this one is here on my desk. Copy it over. And before I'm importing it here in my pristine new scene, I just make a new scene there, which I call the clean room, where I import any models that I got first, and just to clean them up. Okay, scenes, up the hierarchy, models, desk organizer. There we go. And unable to import some materials, of course. With a type unknown will be imported as a Fong material. Of course, it happens all the time. So far this looks already pretty neat, I have to say. This looks quite good. Let's just see how. Okay, so this one looked pretty low poly, but it has a shitload of polygons. I'm not quite sure if you can see this here. This one here is better. This has a lot of polygons, but the scissors do not. So if I smoothen them out, this works. And look at this. Look at the definition, the difference from this one here with the sheer amount of polygons compared to those pens here. Maybe I can smoothen them out a bit. This didn't quite work. So probably we'll get rid of those ones. And the pencil here is also a little bit overkill in terms of, yeah, like I said, I won't be needing this phone here, so I just delete this one. I very much like the little details here on this writing pad. This is very nice. And what I absolutely don't like is this thing here. But the good thing is that this is a path, and I can just extrude this path here, that this one actually becomes a real coil. I mean, look at this. This is a lot of, I mean, in terms of detail, this is very detailed. I very much enjoy working with this. But also this one got this notepad here got how many polygons? We got 4,600 triangles there. Okay, but again, I like it if there's at least there's more polygons to it than necessary. So what does this organizer thing here is? So I got here organizer folder. So those must be groups, I would assume, or null objects where things are just grouped. So this is actually very nice. This is very nice for a 3D model, which I didn't have to pay anything for. Look at this. Okay, things are getting a little bit out of hand here. Again, in terms of materials, it's just too many materials. I think when working in games, we're all used to more or less having just a couple or handful of maps per model that you minimize draw calls. This is classic VFX. We don't care how long a frame renders, so yeah, why not spread it out over many different materials. I mean, it looks nice here that it's already colored, but in the end I would just have done this differently. Yeah. Okay, first thing I want to take care of is this little coil here, this of this notepad here. And I got this one incredibly helpful app that lets me just say create. I have my curve selected and say create wire tool and wire mesh from curve, and now it looks like this. So, oh, sorry, this was the wrong shortcut. There we go. And now I can just say how many steps I need. Let's say 1,500 steps. And how thick should this be? The profile, yeah, let's make it 0.05. Let's try this. Yeah, this looks about right actually. This looks about right. Maybe just a little bit. 0.4, like this, and done. I mean, this is beautiful that I don't have to extrude a cylinder along or anything. This is, again, it's called, I'm not quite sure what it's called. It's wire mesh. Let's click help. No, this doesn't help. This thing here. I got it from some kind of YouTube tutorial that said, yeah, those are the 3 kinds how to make those things, those extruded wires, or how to make wires and cables in Maya. And this is where I got this. So this is cool. This I like very much. I think we can import this, and you know what, let's save this here. Usually I would clean up the model and the UV maps, and also especially the materials, and then import it. But for now that we can just continue working, make a new folder which I call Desk Organizer, and call it Desk Organizer 01. Then import it into the scene we just had before. Recent projects, scene setup. Oh, this was the scene we're currently in. Office. Cool. File, import, desk organizer. Where is it? Oh, there it is. yeah, I'm not quite sure how big this thing is supposed to be in the end, but let's just bring it there, here into the light, and say, yeah, this desk organizer. Oh, you know what? I will just turn it here by 90 degrees. That it pretty much looks like what I have standing here, but my desk organizer has a little bit more stuff in it. So, but funny thing is, there's also a cell phone there. So okay, let's try this and let's try to render this and see how this looks in terms of lighting and so on. But apparently, yeah, I need some work to try to minimize all those materials, to unionize, to merge them into one material that I can where I just have one 4K texture that has all the textures for the notebook and so on and so forth, for example. But overall, I think this looks like the light is coming from some kind of desk lamp, and also like how it looks here with the with this notebook here. I mean, this looks really like some battered notebook there with this what's it called, dog-eared page there. Funny thing is, in English it's dog-eared. In German we say when something has this bent corners there, we say Eselsohren, which means donkey's ears. So apparently Germans make much bigger dog ears, so that we call them donkey's ears. So, and you can see how cool it is to work with a renderer such as Arnold. For one thing here, I mean, it's of course, this is preview stuff. It's a little bit grainy here, but already this looks very nice in terms of color rendition and shadow casting and so on. So I think this one I will keep in the background, probably when the textures are on and I've connected them all, it should look much better even. And then, of course, in the foreground, we will have this beautiful 1990s, I meant to say, but it's 2000s computer, which I don't have until tomorrow. So apparently I can't get much stuff done, but I think you know how the journey is going with me. With 3D, you can see my passion is lighting and rendering, so I really want to give this the proper mood and so on, and I hope in the end, in the video, this will come off as almost photoreal, so if you're not paying close attention, that it might look realistic in a sense, as if it would when you would see this in some kind of big high production value documentary. Tudbari says we call it donkey ears as well here in Hungary. Oh, this is nice. So Austria and Hungary it's very close. Still, I think from the old monarchy, because I think this was called Austria-Hungary, where it has. I'm very bad with history, but this I recall that we had this in the good old days of the 1900s and before, this cooperation between the Kingdom of Austria and Hungary and so on and so forth. So maybe this is how it traveled or it stuck with us. Yeah, so again, I don't think I can make much progress now, but let's have a look at it through the camera first, because again, the most important thing is that it looks correct through the camera. This is something a luxury that you don't have when you're working on games, because pretty much everything has to look good from every angle, and even the cars need some kind of underside, because when they get flung through the air with explosions, you need to see something there. But with CGI and animation, you can cheat. You can cheat so much and so bad, and in the end, it's all what you see from this perspective, from this one angle. It has to look right, or while it has to appear correct, and this is all that counts. Pixar is violating this constantly. I think I saw a lot of behind the scenes stuff from Ratatouille, and their characters would be clipped into each other when they were in close-ups, because they needed to act, and you couldn't see their bellies, but there would be just just overlapping. or for some action scenes I would just clip through some corners for 2 frames or so, but you wouldn't see this in the individual frames even, but the motion and the overall the motion and the appearance of motion and silhouette would look much better. So this is my point, is you can cheat when you know that you can get away with it. Okay, so I think I've been streaming now again for 2 hours. This went very fast. Apparently, when I'm just unbridled in my hatred for purchases that required me to do some work as well, when I'm ranting, just time flies by. So again, I hope maybe this was a little bit interesting to you. I don't think that it was very useful to you, just watching me bothering people on Twitter to help me convert a file. But maybe you there was something in there for you that you can use in your work. If it has to do with gaming, like I said, with 3D models, the bottom line is, I think when you purchase assets, in 90% of the cases you can't use them as is, so plan in some time and buffer accordingly to make this work. And the other thing is that you can cheat a lot when you want to, and really have to pay attention to where you want to use something in your game, if it's close, if it's far away. I mean, this is of course very basic standard, but I recall the first time that I opened a Counter-Strike map in the source editor, it was called Hammer, I think, and I zoomed the camera outside of this map, and then I realized that none of the buildings or walls had any backsides. I told this, I think, the last time as well, and then I realized that of course, so they are just trying to avoid unnecessary polygons where they know that you won't see them as a player, and this opens up your budget in terms that you can put fidelity and stuff where people can see it. And again, this brings me back to my overscoping and my perfectionism, is that I more or less had to learn in one way or another that it's just that I focus my energy into things that actually are showing up in the end product, and not something, for example, with my recreation there of the PlayStation cover or the casing there. I even put those little nibs in there, which are just 0.5 millimeter or something. You probably won't see it, but I figured, you can feel it. But in the end, if it's just something that sits there and it never gets bigger than like 400 pixels across, you don't really have to do it, especially if you know that you won't be using it for anything else. Man, that was quite a tangent, and I still got 5 viewers. Thank you so much. It's really appreciated, especially for someone as me who lives for the more or less generosity and validation of complete strangers there on the internet. Well, that's not true. You're not complete strangers anymore to me. Okay, let's switch back to It Is Big Phil again, and Commander Stitch just sent me a heart. I will send you one back. Again, thank you so much for taking the time of your Sunday just listening to me ranting in bad English about bad models that I got for a bargain. But again, I hope that was at least somewhat entertaining to you. Okay, so next week, what will there be? I don't know, but probably since things are pretty much wrapping up on this front here, once I have the model, then I can do some shading, lighting, more additional models, and I hope that by next time this should be done so that it looks as good as this one here, which you can't see because I switched screens. So let me switch back. That it should look as good as this and as detailed as this, and then I'd be very happy with the end result. And next week probably we'll have something, maybe, I'm not quite sure if I managed to get the voiceover for the post-mortem done by next week. So this is why I thought I throw in between this little video on this one track in Mafia. So maybe there will be some editing to do, some other graphic stuff. I don't know. I'll be just here being in some way creative with my computer, which is more or less turned out to be the heating source there in my room. So summer is coming. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great week again, and if you manage to find time next week, I'll see you again. If not, those streams are archived and will be available also on my YouTube channel. again, if you want to see it in the past, then drop by. Okay, thank you so much. Again, I don't know how to end videos, so I just say unicorn. We have a little sip of water to stay hydrated. And, oh yes, Black Lives Matter. And it's really a really hard time that we're in. First Corona, then this whole thing going on there. It's just crazy. The world is just crazy. And I really hope that 2021, where things will get sane again. So, see you next week.